Good evening, everyone. It is past midnight, so I'm going to try and make this quick, but per usual, I doubt it ends up being quick. What are we having so far? Well, what did we have yesterday? Let's get into this. Well, what I had mentioned yesterday was that the ES looked like it was ready to break out. The RTY, the Russell or Rusty, whatever you want to call it, it looked ready to break out. However, and I was hoping that would carry the ES higher. However, meanwhile on the Nasdaq, what I said was that these lows looked so vulnerable, and I was wanting instead to see a move down, a flush to 740 or lower, this box here, and that's what we got during the RTH. We moved down nicely during the overnight. Had tried to get some bids. We kept failing to climb above the open, or sorry, yesterday's low all day long. And then we had that nice flush into 740, and we gave a great bid. Now, I was not long off that 740. What I had been saying to some friends of mine was that I wanted to see that 682 trade, that prior week's VWAP close. To me, that was going to be the better trade, and that's what I was waiting for. And of course, during Globex, we've opened up and came, what is that, 5 ticks short of it? Something like that. Uh, so to me, now we've finally got the decision point. Now, do we lose this balance, and then start coming down into, let's call it 562 or so? Or are we going to reclaim it, reclaim yesterday's low, reclaim uh, Monday's low at 800-ish, start reclaiming around this area, make our way back above yesterday's or today's RTH high, and get above the weekly open and start pushing above that 911 area? To me, I'm leaning towards the former scenario, just because this thing has been so goddamn weak. And I mentioned over and over again that I thought the ES was near a quarterly high. I even wrote it over here on the big chart here that I think the Q3 high is around 4,600 to 4,665, somewhere around here. So to me, the quarterly high may very well even be in August. I'm looking for us to trade somewhere between this area. That's what I'm looking for this month. For us to trade somewhere around here. That means eventually we do have to come down here. So that's what I'm looking for. To me, this is just the next wave downwards, if you want to call it that. To me, and you can see this right now on the ES, we've lost this green box. That 88 number looks like it's serving as nice resistance so far. So I think we're going to come into this 45, 66, and lower area. And I'd be surprised if we lose the bid there tomorrow. I'd be surprised if that goes without a fight. That 61 to 66 area. Maybe we flush last week's low at 53s and then reclaim 61s and make a move up. I'm overall doubtful this thing just falls apart completely all at once. On the Nasdaq, again, I think once you start to get below about 650 or so, you're looking at this 555. You're looking at 555 to trade. I want to just add this to a little bit higher. There we go. 559. I think that's what you start to get trade. Almost 4 minutes in. Tomorrow, ADP, non-farm employment change numbers are out pre-market. Solid hour and 15 minutes before the open. This thing is just continuing to sell off right now. So how am I looking to trade it? Well, let's get into that. And you can see, I think I just said 559 or something was the number, the high of this box. Oh, what are you? 559. There you go. This would be the aggressive long, 593s. But again, that's after looking at 559-ish getting tagged, right? So here's how I'm looking at this. I have no interest in trading above about 800 or so. Uh, Roughly settlement lows, the VWAP close, the point of control, and the previous day's 4 p.m. close, all within that 800 to 816 and three-quarter area. So kind of this sort of area is where I'm looking for the short. You can see it's been a nice level for a while, for about 2-3 weeks. So this is where I want to be short. If you start to break this and break yesterday's high of the day, I think the short momentum is lost. Maybe you can fight for some scalps here and there on the short side, but I think the better play would be to just simply hold off. And I think we would end up trading above that 911 area. And then again, once you're above 911s, this thing's going to new highs of the year eventually. So to me, here's the short against today's high. Below there, if this thing starts selling off aggressively around around today's low of the day, this number should be, that's fine. Anywhere around today's low of the day, today's RTH low, to about 740 to me is going to be the short. Something like this. We were just to float this out, something like this. This is where I'm looking for on the short side. Something like that. We open on a gap down probably. There's an attempt to close the gap. Maybe it gets to about 740 or so, 750 maybe, and then we end up losing the RTH low, and we end up coming down below that 682. That's how I'm looking at that. Below there, this is going to be a long video. Sorry, guys. This is just the way it is. Don't want to be long 715s. 694 last week's halfback. I would be possibly willing to take that long before the gap is closed. After a tag of last week's VWAP, close at 682s. Below there, not interested in playing in the midst of this balance. This is the most aggressive trade I'll take, which is long 593s. And the only way I'm taking that is after a tag of 522.5, kind of the lower end of that balance that you're looking at. That's simply taking the monthly VWAP closed long right around the monthly point of control after a tag of that weekly point of control at 560.5. Everything from there is just a look below of the subsequent level. 560s long, so that weekly point of control long after a tag of 522s. 525s long after a tag of 511s. 492s long after a tag of 460. This is just going on and on and on, but look below and fail, look below and fail, look below and fail, all the way down there. So I'm not too interested in the long side in the NQ like I haven't been for weeks now. So mostly I'll be looking to play these shorts, and for the long side instead, I'll be looking to play ES. We are 8 minutes into this thing. Let's get to move on. Now, this is my main short, 4601, just like how we just saw with 800 on the NQ. If we start to play above here, today my floodgate for the shorts was 08s. It's because of this balance sort of right here from pretty much last month. What you're looking at, right about there. You can see the sell points here. This was my floodgate. So what I'll be looking to do is take, again, similar to the NQ, kind of that previous day's close, VWAP close, point of control, blah, 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 blah. All that sort of crap I want to take short against the prior day's high. Now, below there, if the overnight high is broken, I'll be willing to take 88s long before we move into 98s to get this external trading hours gap closed, the price closed, as they usually do closes. You can see here there's none open. So that's what I'll be looking for. If instead the previous day's low at 91, if that RTH low of the day at 91 acts as resistance, we're unable to take out the overnight high, I'll be looking to short this against the overnight high. Below, I'm willing to take 76 as long after a tag of 66.5. 66.5 just being the weekly -2 standard deviation of VWAP from last week. Below there, 61s is the 95% weekly value area low from last week after a run of the prior week's low. Below there, 54.5, the Q2 95% value area high from 2022. It's been a nice level to play off of, as you can see. I'll be looking to take that long after a tag of the third negative standard deviation of last week's VWAP. Below there, waiting for 42s to essentially get tagged. That was an important level on this session over here, I believe it was, somewhere around here. Yeah, this session, it was important, if I recall. So I'll be waiting for us to tag that 42 number, taking any of these long or 42 itself long. Below there, 37s, willing to take that long after a run of that weekly low over there. Below there, willing to take 31s long after a tag of 25, the third standard deviation of that week's VWAP. So, as you can see, if we zoom this out and finish off this 10-minute video so far, how am I looking to trade this? Well, on the ES, I'm willing to be short essentially more or less in this box, this green box from about this line up to pretty much where we fell off. And I don't want us to get above this green line because I think you run into this scenario where we get above, I think you start to run into 15s. I think that gets broken. You run into 25s and boom, you're off to the races. So short here, and then below there, I'm pretty much looking at longs into this major zone, and then this one as well for a reclaim up to here on higher time frames. Nasdaq, same thing. I want to be short. Somewhere in this gray box, or where we sold off of, and I'm looking to pretty much only get long down there in this box here. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Perhaps a liquidation session tomorrow. I've got no idea. I'm willing to change this plan as the MGI evolves. Have a great night. Trade safe. Be up in a few hours.